Have you ever met someone who seemed confident, intelligent, and full of life, only to become anxious, insecure, and unsure of themselves months later? The frightening part is that confidence rarely disappears overnight. It is usually dismantled, piece by piece. Welcome to DarkMind Academy. Most people think manipulation is about controlling someone's actions. It isn't. The highest form of manipulation is controlling how someone sees themselves. Because once a person begins doubting their own worth, they become easier to influence, easier to control, and easier to keep trapped. And that's why confidence is often the first target. In one of our previous videos, we discussed why narcissists fear confident people. Today, we're looking at the other side of that equation. If confidence threatens their control, how do they try to destroy it? The answer is rarely obvious. They don't usually attack confidence directly. They don't walk into someone's life and immediately begin tearing them down. That would expose their intentions too quickly. Instead, they use subtle psychological tactics that slowly erode self-belief from the inside. And by the time the victim realizes what's happening, the damage may already be deep. Today, we're exposing the confidence destruction tactics manipulators use to weaken, confuse, and control the people around them. Not through force, not through violence, but through psychology. And the worst part, many victims never realize it's happening until years later. Let's begin. The first tactic is subtle criticism disguised as concern. A manipulator rarely starts with direct attacks. That would be too obvious. Instead, they hide their criticism behind concern. They'll say things like, "I'm just trying to help. I only want what's best for you. I'm being honest." At first, the comments seem harmless. Maybe they criticize the way you speak. Maybe they question your decisions. Maybe they point out flaws nobody else notices. One comment doesn't seem dangerous. 10 comments don't seem dangerous. But after hearing the same messages repeatedly, the brain begins accepting them as truth. Eventually, the victim starts repeating the criticism internally. And once that happens, the manipulator no longer needs to attack. The victim attacks themselves. That's when the real damage begins. The second tactic is making achievements feel insignificant. Confident people gain strength from progress. Manipulators understand this. So, whenever you accomplish something, they reduce its importance. You get a promotion. They say it was luck. You lose weight. They say it won't last. You start a business. They say others have done better. You achieve something meaningful. They immediately move the goalpost. Nothing is ever enough. Nothing is ever impressive. Nothing is ever worthy of celebration. Over time, the victim stops feeling proud of their victories. And when victories no longer create confidence, motivation begins to die. The third tactic is comparison. Comparison is one of the oldest psychological weapons ever created. Manipulators constantly compare people to others. Why? Because comparison creates inadequacy. They'll say, "Look how successful your brother is. Look at what your friend accomplished. Why can't you be more like them?" The goal isn't improvement. The goal is dissatisfaction. Because dissatisfied people become easier to control. No matter how hard they work, they never feel enough. And a person who never feels enough becomes desperate for approval. That's exactly where the manipulator wants them. The fourth tactic is inconsistent validation. This tactic is incredibly powerful. Sometimes they praise you. Sometimes they ignore you. Sometimes they support you. Sometimes they criticize you. The pattern feels random, but it isn't. The unpredictability creates addiction. The victim becomes obsessed with earning approval. Instead of asking, "Do I approve of myself?" they begin asking, "How do I make them approve of me?" And the moment someone else's approval becomes your source of confidence, you surrender power over your emotional state. The fifth tactic is public embarrassment. Some manipulators prefer private attacks. Others prefer an audience. They make jokes at your expense. They expose your mistakes. They humiliate you in subtle ways. Then they laugh. And if you react, they claim you're too sensitive. This serves two purposes. First, it weakens confidence. Second, it trains the victim to tolerate disrespect. Eventually, they stop defending themselves. And once self-defense disappears, control becomes easier. The sixth tactic is gaslighting. Gaslighting attacks the foundation of confidence itself. Your trust in your own mind. You remember something clearly. They deny it happened. You point out their behavior. They say you're imagining things. You express concern. They accuse you of overreacting. Eventually, confusion replaces certainty. The victim stops trusting their memory, stops trusting their judgment, stops trusting their perception. And when people stop trusting themselves, they become dependent on external guidance. That's exactly what manipulators want. The seventh tactic is isolation. Confidence grows through healthy relationships. Manipulators know this. So they slowly separate victims from supportive people. Friends become threats. Family becomes interference. Outside opinions become dangerous. The victim hears fewer perspectives, receives less encouragement, and becomes increasingly dependent on the manipulator's reality. Isolation doesn't just remove support, it removes mirrors. Without healthy mirrors, people struggle to see their own value. The eighth tactic is creating impossible standards. No matter what you do, it's never enough. No matter how much effort you give, it never meets expectations. This creates a permanent state of failure. The victim begins chasing approval that can never be earned. The finish line keeps moving. The standards keep changing. The expectations keep rising. And confidence slowly collapses under the weight of constant inadequacy. The ninth tactic is weaponized silence. Silence can be more painful than criticism, especially when used strategically. A manipulator withdraws attention, withdraws communication, withdraws affection. Not because they need space, but because they want punishment. The victim becomes anxious. They replay conversations. They search for mistakes. They desperately try to repair a problem they may not have caused. The silence sends a message. You only deserve connection when I decide. And that's a dangerous lesson for anyone to learn. The 10th tactic is rewriting reality. This is where manipulation becomes truly disturbing. The manipulator begins controlling the narrative. They become the victim. You become the problem. Their actions become justified. Your reactions become evidence against you. Gradually, reality flips. The victim starts apologizing for things they didn't do, accepting blame they didn't deserve, carrying guilt that never belonged to them. And once someone accepts false responsibility long enough, confidence disappears. Because confidence cannot survive inside a prison of undeserved guilt. Now here's the frightening truth. These tactics rarely appear alone. They work together. Criticism weakens confidence. Comparison increases insecurity. Gaslighting creates confusion. Isolation removes support. Silence creates anxiety. Together they form a system designed to break self-belief. And that's why so many victims struggle to recognize what's happening. Each tactic seems small. Each incident seems minor. But psychological damage is often cumulative. A single drop of water seems harmless, yet enough drops can carve stone. The same principle applies to confidence. Now let's talk about protection. Because understanding the tactics is only half the battle. The first defense is awareness. Manipulation loses power when exposed. The moment you recognize the pattern, the illusion begins to crack. The second defense is external perspectives. Speak to trusted friends. Speak to trusted family members. Manipulation thrives in secrecy. Truth survives in conversation. The third defense is evidence. Keep records. Keep notes. Keep reminders of reality. Especially when dealing with gaslighting. Facts become anchors during storms of confusion. The fourth defense is boundaries. A manipulator views weak boundaries as opportunities. Strong boundaries change the game. Not everyone will respect them, but the people who become angry about boundaries often reveal why they were needed in the first place. The fifth defense is self-validation. This is perhaps the most important. Confidence built on external approval is fragile. Confidence built on internal standards is far harder to destroy. When you know your value, criticism becomes information rather than identity. Comparison loses power, manipulation loses leverage, and approval becomes a bonus instead of a necessity. Remember this: manipulators don't destroy confidence because confidence is dangerous. They destroy confidence because confident people are difficult to control. A confident person questions. A confident person resists. A confident person leaves. A confident person sets boundaries. And above all, a confident person understands that their worth is not determined by someone else's opinion. That's why confidence is always the target. Because once self-belief survives, control begins to fail. And when control fails, freedom begins. Welcome to DarkMind Academy. See manipulation clearly, understand power deeply, and never allow someone else to define your value. If you've ever witnessed any of these tactics, leave a comment below. And subscribe for more insights into the hidden psychology shaping human behavior.